Right now, in laboratories across the world, scientists are holding technology that will change your life more dramatically than the smartphone did. But there's a problem. You can't buy it, you can't use it, and most of it may never leave those labs. The gap between invention and adoption is wider than ever. The future isn't coming. It's already here. It's just trapped. So what technology exists right now that could reshape everything, and why can't you have it yet? Let's start with what's actually sitting on lab benches today. These aren't concepts or proposals. These are working prototypes that researchers can touch, test, and demonstrate. The question isn't if they work, it's when you'll get to use them. Quantum computers already exist in multiple facilities. Unlike the binary bits in your laptop that are either 0 or 1, quantum bits exist in multiple states simultaneously. This isn't theoretical. Companies are running them right now. A quantum computer recently solved in minutes what would take conventional supercomputers thousands of years. The machine exists, it's operational, but it requires near absolute zero temperatures and costs millions of dollars to maintain. That's the first barrier. Most breakthrough technology needs extreme conditions. Quantum processors need to be colder than outer space. The physics works perfectly. The practicality doesn't. Not yet. Brain-computer interfaces are even closer to market. Researchers have already implanted devices that let paralyzed patients control robotic arms with thought alone. The neural connection is real. The bandwidth is increasing every year. One patient typed 8 words per minute using only brain signals. That's slower than speaking, but faster than many thought possible a decade ago. The technology crossed from science fiction to medical reality. But here's the catch. It requires surgery. Electrodes must be placed directly on or in the brain. The interface works, but the installation is invasive, risky, and expensive. That's what keeps it in hospitals rather than stores. Then there's fusion energy. Multiple facilities have achieved fusion reactions, the same process that powers the sun. They've created tiny artificial stars on Earth, sustained them, and extracted energy. It happened. It's reproducible. In December 2022, scientists achieved fusion ignition, more energy out than in. That's the breakthrough humanity has chased for 70 years. The reaction lasted nanoseconds, but the principle is proven. The problem? The facility uses lasers the size of buildings. The reaction requires precision measured in trillionths of a second. Building a power plant from this technology will take decades and billions of dollars. Nanomedicine is already inside human bodies. Researchers have injected microscopic particles that target cancer cells specifically, delivering drugs only where needed. These aren't robots with tiny gears. They're engineered molecules with programmed behavior. One approach uses nanoparticles coated with antibodies. They circulate through your bloodstream, ignore healthy cells, lock onto cancer cells, and release their payload. The targeting works. The delivery works. But manufacturing them at scale remains difficult. This is the pattern. The science succeeds, but the engineering struggles. Making one dose for one patient in a research hospital is possible. Making millions of doses safely and affordably is a different challenge entirely. Solid-state batteries are sitting in labs right now. They replace the liquid electrolyte in current batteries with solid materials. The result? Higher energy density, faster charging, and dramatically reduced fire risk. Some prototypes store 3 times the energy of lithium-ion batteries in the same space. An electric car could go 900 miles on a single charge. The chemistry is proven. The prototypes function, but they're fragile. Solid electrolytes crack under pressure and temperature changes. The battery works perfectly in controlled lab conditions. Put it in a car that experiences vibration, heat, and cold, and the performance degrades rapidly. Optical computers use photons instead of electrons. Light travels faster than electricity and generates almost no heat. Researchers have built optical processors that perform certain calculations thousands of times faster than silicon chips. Because photons don't interact the way electrons do, optical chips could theoretically run without cooling systems. No fans, no heat sinks. Just light doing calculations at the speed of light. The prototypes exist and function. But here's the problem. Our entire computing infrastructure is built for electricity. Memory, storage, input, output, everything speaks the language of electrons. Optical processors need translators at every step, which eliminates most of their speed advantage. Graphene was isolated in 2004. It's a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a hexagonal lattice. It's stronger than steel, lighter than paper, more conductive than copper, and completely flexible. Researchers call it a wonder material. It could revolutionize electronics, construction, medicine, and energy storage. Labs have made graphene processors, sensors, and filters. The material performs exactly as theory predicted. The barrier? Manufacturing. Making small amounts of high-quality graphene is possible. Making tons of it consistently and cheaply is not. 20 years after discovery, graphene remains a laboratory material. Bioprinting technology can print living tissue layer by layer. Researchers have printed skin, cartilage, and blood vessels. They've created miniature organs for testing drugs. The printer exists. The bioink exists. The process works. A printed ear was successfully transplanted onto a patient. Not a plastic prosthetic, a living ear grown from the patient's own cells, printed in the shape needed and integrated into the body. Science fiction became surgery. But printing a simple structure like an ear is vastly different from printing a kidney with millions of filtering units, or a heart with coordinated electrical signals. The technology scales up slowly, very slowly. Artificial intelligence systems can already outperform humans in specific tasks. But most AI is a black box. Even its creators don't fully understand how it reaches conclusions. Researchers are building explainable AI that shows its reasoning. Prototypes exist that can diagnose diseases and then explain which symptoms and test results led to the diagnosis. The AI doesn't just give an answer. It shows its work, like a student explaining their math solution. The problem is a trade-off. Explainable AI is often less accurate than black box AI. Making the system transparent seems to reduce its performance. Researchers haven't solved this paradox yet. Superconductors conduct electricity with zero resistance, but only at extremely low temperatures. In 2020, researchers announced a material that superconducts at room temperature. The scientific community was electrified. Zero-resistance power transmission would revolutionize the electrical grid. No energy lost as heat. No massive cooling systems, just perfect conduction at the temperature of your living room. The implications are staggering. But there's a catch. The material only superconducts under extreme pressure, millions of times atmospheric pressure, the kind of pressure found deep in Earth's crust. The discovery is real, but the practicality remains science fiction. Wireless power transmission works. Researchers have beamed electricity across rooms using focused microwaves or lasers. The energy transmits through air. Receivers convert it back to usable power. No cables, no plugs. One demonstration powered a drone continuously during flight. The drone never landed. It flew as long as the beam stayed locked on. The potential applications for this technology are enormous. The barrier is safety. A beam powerful enough to transmit useful amounts of energy is also powerful enough to harm anyone who walks through it. Regulations and safety systems need to be developed before this leaves the lab. DNA can store data. Researchers have encoded images, books, and videos into synthetic DNA strands. 1 gram of DNA can theoretically store 200 petabytes of data. That's every movie ever made in a space smaller than your fingertip. The data is stable for centuries if kept cool and dry. The read and write process works. The storage density is unmatched by any electronic medium. But writing data to DNA currently takes hours and costs thousands of dollars. DNA storage is perfect for archival data you'll rarely access. It's terrible for anything you need quickly. The technology exists, but serves a narrow use case. Speed and cost need to improve by orders of magnitude. Notice the pattern. The technology works, the science is sound, the prototypes function. But between laboratory and market lies a chasm of engineering challenges, economic barriers, and regulatory requirements. The question isn't if these technologies will reach you, it's when and in what form. Some will arrive within years. Others might take decades. A few will fail entirely, replaced by approaches we haven't invented yet. History shows that transformative technologies often take longer than optimists predict, but arrive more suddenly than pessimists expect. The smartphone took decades to develop, but seemed to appear overnight. Right now, in labs you'll never visit, researchers are solving the problems that stand between prototype and product. They're finding cheaper materials, simpler processes, safer implementations. Progress happens in silence. The technology that seems impossible today will be mundane tomorrow. Your grandparents would find your smartphone magical. Your grandchildren will find quantum computers ordinary. The future doesn't announce itself. It accumulates. So when someone asks when the future will arrive, the answer is, it already has. It's just unevenly distributed, trapped in labs, waiting for the final barriers to fall. And they will fall. They always do.